all the words around it are actually prayers. And so like I've gotten all my friends, that's not all of them, okay, whatever. I've gotten my friends to like sign it, instead of signing their name, they sign it with a prayer. So that's kind of a cool thing, yeah.
You have friends?
More than you know, so.
I didn't get to sign it. I thought we were friends.
You can sign it, I have a Sharpie.
Alright, can I sign it? Get on with the talk. Anyway.
Get on with the talk, sorry. Yeah, we're running a little bit behind. I do have to call out Father Francis first, though, first of all, sorry. You guys probably didn't really pick up on it, but when he prayed me in, he said the word squeeze, and he actually had to say that. I guess, did you lose a bet, and that's why you had to do that? But, okay, that was a dare, yeah. And so, yeah, that's why I was laughing up here when he was praying that. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, it's just, he actually did it, and so I was like, oh. Alright, we'll get started. Okay, so, I was walking through this park, okay, one day, just walking through the park, I see this guy, okay, and he's throwing bricks up into the air, right? He just has a brick, he's throwing it up in the air, and it comes down. And he throws it up, and it comes down. And like he winds up and just like chunks it, and it still falls down to the ground. And so I'm a physics major, so I'm trying to be like smart. I'm like this guy doesn't know how gravity works. So I'm go over there. I'm like, dude, like you know that brick will always fall down to the ground, right? And he just looked at me. He's just like, the brick doesn't know that. And he throws the brick up again. I'm like, what the heck is this guy doing? Like this guy's crazy. He's on like drugs or something. So that story actually was from a friend of mine who was trying to come up with like a really like funny example of what it's like to pray, and he came up with throwing bricks up into the sky, right? Of all the things he could come up with, he chose that. But like when you think about it, it's actually kind of like what it feels like sometimes, right? It feels like you're just throwing a brick up into the sky, hoping it's gonna stay up there, and every single time, it falls back down to the ground. Like, I remember the first time I wanted to seriously, like really just pray, just give an hour of my time, focus on God, I was like, gonna go to adoration, just go to a little chapel, in front of the Blessed Sacrament, pray for like 1 hour. And I go there, get down on my knees, make the sign of the cross, I'm just like, let's get this bread, and just like start going, I'm like going into it, right? I'm praying for my friends, I'm praying for my family, I'm praying for souls in purgatory, like I'm praying for this, I'm praying for that, like I'm just hitting it, right? And I'm like, all right, this is feeling pretty good, pull out my phone, check it. It's been like 4 minutes, I'm like, oh no, I wanted an hour. Okay, it's fine, There's lots of things I haven't prayed for yet. So I'm praying for like the people that use blinkers when they drive, right? I'm praying for like the bartender that gave me an extra shot, I'm praying for like my professors to bump my 35 to an A, I'm just doing like everything I can, right? Just everything I can to like hold on to my prayer and really just like be in that moment with God. But eventually, right, you're just kind of like your mind drifts away, right? And you lose that. It feels like you're throwing these prayers up, and every single time they just come back down, and you really you can't hold on to it. And that's why I'm here, talking to you guys today. Is I'm trying to like tell you guys and like help you better understand what prayer is, okay? And we think it's this really basic, simple thing, right? I mean, it's the most fundamental part of our faith, right? Just praying. But really, sometimes like we don't really know what exactly that is. So let's try and, define prayer real quick. So can I have a volunteer maybe to give it if someone if you think just a quick definition of if you had to go up on someone on the street and tell them what prayer is. Anyone? It's okay if you say no. You? Yeah, okay. How would you, just someone on the street, they're like, hey, what is prayer? What do you tell them?
I would tell them it's kind of like a conversation with God. It could be in the form of thanksgiving, or something in need.
That's beautiful. That's literally what I have written down right here. I was like, okay, prayer is having a conversation with God, right? It's talking with God. That's what we think prayer is, right? And technically speaking, okay, that's correct. Obviously, prayer is talking with God. We all know that. But, I think we can maybe do a little bit better, okay? And so, diving into the Bible, Protestants do. Sorry, it's not a joke to Protestants, right? So looking at the Bible, In Isaiah 56:7, it reads, "These I will bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and sacrifices will be accepted on my altar, for my house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples." Really beautiful verse. And a little backstory is this chapter was when God was instructing Isaiah on the requirements for salvation. So he's basically telling us, like, look, if you want to go to heaven, if you want to be saved, you got to pray. You got to come into my house of prayer, offer whatever sacrifices you want to do, and I will make you joyful in my house of prayer. And it's like the first time I read this, it sounded kind of weird because I was thinking about, it was like God has a house of prayer. Like that sounds weird to me. I don't know. Like, does this mean that God engages in prayer? If he has a house of prayer, that means God prays. But it's like God, right? It's like, who's he praying to? What does he have to pray for? And we had to it's pretty obvious. Like when we look at it, why does he pray? Well, obviously he prays because we need prayer, right? If we need him to pray so that we can also pray. And when we think about just prayer as a form of communication, us conversing with God, and we look at that, it still sounds kind of weird, right? It's still well, that doesn't fit just right. And so I want to try and change how you guys think of what is prayer. And so I would say that prayer is not an action, okay? Prayer does have actions in it, but prayer is more of a state of being, okay? It's more of something we become, okay? And that's kind of hard to understand, so the actions of our prayers, okay? Making the sign of cross, going to mass, saying the words of our Father, these actions that we do in prayer help lead our intentions to where we can focus on God, okay? So we're not drifting off, the brick's not coming down. So our actions of prayer help form our intentions so that our intentions are slowly on God. We're not focusing on anything else. And that's why we have actions of prayer. And that's why they're really important that we follow them, because they help form our intentions, okay? And when we look at this, then we remember again that, okay, God is with us when we pray. We go together into his house of prayer. That right there is why we pray. Because we are being with God. We are bonding with God. We are able to develop a relationship with God through our prayers. And now that I say that, we kind of have a little bit better definition than just conversing with God. Okay, so prayer is us entering into a spiritual presence of God. It's us entering into the state of being where we're focused solely on God. We're not thinking of anything else. We may, I don't know, the first time I was writing this up, I still kind of felt a little empty with that definition. I don't know if that's a good word. I just felt because when we pray, our mind drifts off a lot, right? We come crashing down when we try to join God, because over and over we try and be in this perfect relationship with God where we're just okay, I need to focus on God when I pray. But every single time we pray, our mind drifts off, and that just kind of left me feeling just not good about it, and it kind of made prayer almost seem pointless. If I'm striving for this perfect relationship with God where I'm always in his presence, but I keep failing over and over and over again, it seems, I don't know, just pointless to me. And I don't know, I guess I can give an example. When I was, I grew up on a ranch in Texas. I'm not wearing boots, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I grew up on this ranch, and we had literally every animal you could think of, cows, chickens, goats, horses. We did have this one dairy cow, okay? And obviously his name is Bessie. What else are you gonna name a dairy cow? And the sad thing is we had to hand milk Bessie every single day. So I was anyone here ever milked a cow before? Yes, it sucks, right? It's hard. It's the worst. And okay, for those who haven't milked a cow before, I will show you how to milk a cow to help you realize how pointless this was, milking a cow, okay? So you have to realize it's a big animal, okay? Very big animal, so you have to be careful when you're walking up to it, okay? Big animal, here's Bessie. Hello, Bessie. Usually you're with a partner, you're with someone else, so they're on the other side of the cow, and then hopefully you'll have a bucket to sit on. You don't have to kneel in the mud, So get down. I'll just get down. All right. Sorry, guys in the back. So partner's here, Bessie's here, bucket's here. The next part is you have to grab the teats. And you're probably I know what everything feels like. You do not know what it feels like to grab a cow's udder, okay? Because you can't squeeze the milk out of it. Like, you can't just squeeze it. You have to like shake weight it almost. So you have to like pump it while you're going, okay? And this is how crazy my mom was, okay? My mom would have us pray the rosary while we milked the cow, okay? So we're just over here, just like Hail Mary, full of grace. And we did this every single day, right? For like years. And it seemed the most pointless thing to me. Because like, you can't focus when you're praying, right? You're not giving your intention, you're not entering into like the presence of God, you're milking a cow, right? Like, I mean, and like, it's like, so it seems pointless, but like, we have to realize it's not just about having that intention where you're focused on God. The real reason is why we pray is we're bonding with God, right? We're giving up our time and our moments to God. And so even though I was milking a cow, and I hated it at the time, I was still giving up that time to God when like I could have been doing something else. And so that's why we pray. That's why even when we're like milking a cow, or maybe like when we're studying, or when we're doing like some other thing that's distracting us, right? It's good just to realize, hey, I can give up this time to God because I want to better my relationship with Him and work on developing like how like we understand each other and how I can change my will to His will. And a good like quote I like to reflect on sometimes is from C.S. Lewis. It's like let's see, it goes. I pray because I can't help myself. I pray because I am helpless.